This morning we're here in a wonderful little park in Etobicoke, Ontario, and we're talking with Tanzina Amin. Good morning, Tanzina.
Good morning. Thank you for being here, Sherwin.
Oh, thank you for having me. So I always like to start off our artists by asking them about their origin story and how they got into being the creative person that they are.
So I started off when I was a teenager. I used to do a lot of sketching. I loved sketching portraits, and I was pretty good at doing portraits that actually looked like the person I was trying to sketch. But I was kind of intimidated by painting. I just didn't know how, and back then there was no internet or YouTube or anything. So I ended up taking art lessons with an artist. He had a school back in Bangladesh, and this was in 1984. So I went to that school for 2 years just to do very traditional oil painting. So that's how I started off with. I just kind of painting what I see, very realistic colors and very traditional oils. So after that, when I started university, I kind of took a break, and that break extended to 23 years. So for 23 years, I did not touch anything to do with art. And then when I finally got back to painting, it was actually when I was going through a rough time personally in my life, and I was advised that I should do something that I'm passionate about. And I thought, many moons ago, I used to paint, so maybe I should give it a try. I wasn't even sure if I even knew how to anymore. But when I started painting, it was like I never stopped. But one thing changed is that I didn't want to do those traditional oil paintings anymore. I didn't want to use yellow ochres and burnt sienna. I wanted to use bright reds and bright yellows, and so I, I just didn't know how. I wanted to do abstract, and all I knew how to do was do a realistic representation of something.
Yeah.
So again, I went into a course, and I took an abstract expressionism course, and that just really opened my eyes. So since then, I've kind of blended abstract expressionism with the faces that I love to paint, and try to do a lot of expressive faces. But I paint kind of all over the place, not just portraits, abstracts, landscapes, still life, like all kinds of things. My favorite would be portraits, so I keep going back to them. But
Yeah, I find that seems to be pretty common. The artists that I talk to, they have a certain core subject that really attracts them, but then they like to branch out into different things. And I think what that does is it keeps us interested and it keeps us challenged in what we're doing.
yeah, exactly. And when I'm painting, I don't even know what I'm gonna paint. I just start off by basically, I guess, staring at my canvas for a while.
So, is there some tips and ideas that you can share with emerging artists that you've picked up along the way?
Emerging artist. When I first started showing my art in 2015, there wasn't a lot of places where I could show my art, and it was really difficult. But now there are so many places to go and show, although for COVID now things are closed. But I would think the first thing to do is grow your network, join art groups, and social media is such a great thing to find where to show your art. Look for group shows to start, and that'll build your confidence. And keep learning. Like, make sure you really focus on what you're doing. Do what you're passionate about. You need to love what you're doing. Like I said, when I went back to painting, and I was trying to do realistic art, my life had changed by then. My personality had changed, a lot of things had changed, and I just wasn't passionate enough with traditional oil paintings anymore. So find what you're passionate about.
Were there any specific barriers that you had to overcome in pursuit of your creative practice?
For me, when I started off, my biggest barrier was to, I guess the first one was to gather the confidence that my art was good enough to show the world. And my friends and family played a big role in boosting my confidence. And then it was difficult, especially then, to find places that would accept an artist that has never shown her art anywhere before. So I kept looking for places to show my art, and it was a cold place. I'm trying to find the right word to say. So I would be in a group show, and I would be beside other artists, and there would be kind of this invisible wall, like just because you're a nobody, you haven't shown your work other places, people don't know you yet, and so there was no warmth, and that's something that I really struggled with in the beginning, because that also affects your confidence and your motivation. And for me, my husband was very supportive, and we ended up starting our own shows. So that worked really well. And one thing that we did was remembering what I went through when I first started to show my art, is that we were very open and inclusive to all artists, whether they're emerging or professional established artists. Everyone was welcome. It was all based on their work. And when we curated, everyone got the same importance. And when the artists came to the opening receptions, it was the same thing. Like, everyone was treated equally. And people felt that. They felt that warmth. And a lot of artists that now I see, they exhibited in so many different places. When they first exhibited with us, it was their first time ever showing their art. So that makes me really happy.
But you're in good company. I recently watched a program about the Impressionists, and back in those days, Impressionism, when it first came out, people laughed. People laughed at the art. They thought it was hilarious. Like, they just thought it was a bunch of garbage, and the in people were accepting of their work, and so they went ahead and they did their own exhibitions. And look at it now, Impressionism is huge. So one of the things that we've been talking about in season 2 is trends, and the prevalence of people talking about trends and what's hot and what's trending in the art world. Is that something that we really should be concerned about?
It's good to know what's trendy, but you don't necessarily have to follow exactly what everyone else is doing. What I do is I watch trends, and then I take ideas from there and then make it my own. So, like a few years ago, pouring medium became very trendy. Everyone was doing pouring medium, so just mix different colors together with pouring medium and just let the paint flow. And I have a thing with if everyone is doing it, I don't want to do it. So But if anyone is really drawn to it, then by all means, try it out, whatever the trend is at any time. Like, as long as you're passionate about it, I think that's more important than just trying out the different trends just because people are doing it.
And how has the pandemic affected your art practice over the last year and a half or so?
So, the pandemic definitely had a big effect on everything, I guess. And for myself, in 2019, I went through a bit of a career change. I was working full time in the corporate world until then, and I went through some grief related changes, and I just decided that I'm going to just work on art and wellness and holistic healing. And then 2020 came. We had all kinds of exhibitions planned for 2020. We closed our art gallery. We had an art gallery, Artusiasm, for a couple of years. So 2019 was a major change year for me. So we closed the gallery, and I went through a lot of personal changes and therapy. And we booked gallery spaces in other locations throughout 2020 and 2021, with some places I booked 2 years in advance, and they kept getting pushed back and pushed back. We already had artists lined up, and on top of it, because now art was going to be my primary work, I I was doing art classes. I was teaching classes at home, so that got affected. And but for the first couple of months, I guess we were just trying to see where things go. We thought, okay, it's just going to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then okay, a couple of months. At that time, we did not think it was going to be this long until finally it started to feel like, okay, it's going to be longer. We need to find ways. So um, I uh, started teaching my art classes on Zoom. I just posted on Facebook. Like, social media is my biggest friend when it comes to promoting. And so posted on Facebook and found students, and so yeah.
So, what would you say has been your proudest or most memorable moment so far?
I would say when I first started showing my work in 2015, um, the first big gallery exhibition was at Nielsen Park, and I didn't know anyone at that time. I showed up at the reception with just our kids, my husband, and I think two of my friends, and that was it. And there were about 120 or something paintings on the wall from all these big artists that have been showing all the time. And it was a 3 week exhibition, and there was a People's Choice Award. So anyone that came to the gallery throughout that 3 week period, they would vote on one painting of choice. And I won the People's Choice Award. So that was really amazing. That was a wonderful feeling. That gave me that boost that I needed.
How has your present day art practice changed from when you first started?
I think when I first started, I was painting more for others. Like, I was painting more about what I thought I should be painting, or what I thought everyone liked. And now I just paint for myself. It's and it seems like people like that too. So I just needed to follow my gut.
That other people like what we like.
Yeah. Like when I first started, I would be Googling. I like not when I first started, like when I started the second time, it was like, what do I paint?
Yeah.
Okay, what's more popular? What do most people like to see? So that's what I would paint. Okay, landscapes, flowers, figures. Like, but then I just keep going back to faces and just a lot of color. I love color.
So a question I've been asking everybody that's been part of the series in both season 1 and season 2, where would you like to see yourself in 10 years from now?
10 years is a long time. I I I don't know exactly where I would be in 10 years, but where I would like to see myself. I would like to kind of grow in the direction that I'm going because like I said in 2019 I had a bit of a transition. So I'm working on my personal healing and wellness and also I'm working on using art as part of the healing process. And I'm taking a lot of trainings and courses on all of this. And I would like to grow more in this holistic healing journey where I can help others heal through their grief, their stress, their all kinds of things that people go through, and using creative expressions as a mode of expressing themselves. So not necessarily art therapy, but more like just use art and other modalities like meditation and other modalities together to help them heal. So I want to kind of help others as well as grow more in that field. And probably my art will start to reflect that as well. Like right now, I'm already thinking about different uh, types of things to paint. So I don't know where it's gonna move to. So most likely it'll be something in between what I'm doing now and more of spiritual art or healing.
So Tanzina, I really want to thank you. This has been wonderful hanging out with you this morning here in Etobicoke. It's a beautiful morning. It's sunny. It's cool. It's a great day to be out here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all that you're doing for other artists. You're taking your time, you're going all the way out there to talk to artists. Like, this is amazing. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much.